Welcome back to United TV. We're going to be doing a call-in show. So if you'd like to join in to talk about MATHEUS Fernandes, Tchouaméni, BOUADDI, insert like any number of like 50,000 midfielders that we talked about, anyone you've heard. Do you know what I was going to say before we start? Anyone that completes like a successful pass in the World Cup is probably on Man United's shortlist, according to journalists.
It's true, though, isn't it? I mean, it happens year in, year out. We're linked. We're linked. First of all, so lovely to see you again, Rich. Lovely to be on the show again. And big up to everyone in the community. I just want to say I've really been enjoying the weather, and the World Cup as well has been a tonic too. So I've enjoyed that. It's kind of nice to take the pressure off kind of watching Man United games and having all of that kind of up and down. Although we were spoiled a bit in the last in Carrick's reign, so it's just kind of nice to just sit back and enjoy the football. That's been really good. And the weather, it's been an absolute delight. I'm one of these guys that give me 35 degrees every day. I'll be happy. And I've suddenly realised I need to relocate. I see how much the sun kind of gives me. So yeah, but so lovely to be back and to say hi to all the gorgeous people, Yale, Cody, United Till I Die, Jeff, Ryan, and
especially Ryan for that comment. Good to see you in the chat, Ryan.
Some buggers. He's got part of that right.
We'll be up to Jeff as well. How you feeling about the World Cup overall? Because I've been quite happy with the amount of goals flying in, and I was just thinking, you know how you watch like lots of sideways passing. It's been quite refreshing that some teams have just gone direct and just taken shots. And I was just thinking, more of that, please, like more of that. And I think it does go to show as well that I'm hoping that fortune favours the brave in this World Cup, and the teams that go for it actually get some success, because that would be, I think, hopefully transforming the way football is played, because I hate this defensive-minded football.
I think it's been terrific. There was so much noise when the World Cup started, which really detracted from everything, and the noise is gone. And suddenly the football's here, and the football's been great. I mean, the first matches were very interesting. Some of the big teams really struggled, bar Argentina. And Portugal still seems to not be clicking into gear, and how much you can debate. That's the Ronaldo issue is something to look at. I've noticed that they've dropped Silva now, because that really wasn't working. He was cutting into midfield and suffocating the midfield in the first game. I still don't understand why they don't play proper wingers like Rafael. I think he should be started. Apparently, he got sent off, and the manager said, "Right, you're never starting another game again." And he took him to the World Cup, but he's still not starting him. And it's kind of like, you need to win games. Forget your ego, start the man. But Spain's been interesting. England, great. I mean, core. They really do it to us. They really do it the hard way. And they seem to be a team that is much better in the second half than the first. Although I do like their movement. I worry with the flanks, with the injuries that we've had. I think sometimes we play too much through midfield. And for me, I love it when we fly out to the wing. We saw more of that yesterday, which was great. And I think Anderson's had a good campaign. I think Bellingham's had a good campaign. I think Rashford had a great game yesterday. Kane is always going to find you goals. It's what's really nice is, and then you look at France, Rich. I mean, I'll yab it on for just another minute, if I may. You look at France, and you look at Mbembe, you look at Elise, you look at Dembele, Mbappe, Elise. It's just sumptuous. You know, you look at that. And I remember at the beginning of the season, I said the team that will win it is the team that's got the most players in PSG. Well, that's France. And then second is Portugal, although Portugal aren't clicking into gear. So I love the way France play, fluid, fast, effective football. And, you know, I think they're a delight to watch. And I think their midfield is fantastic too. And there's so much depth in that bench. And then you see the other teams that have kind of come through, and the lesser teams, and the African nations have also got a bite in.
Cape Verde qualified as well. Like,
yeah,
Cape Verde got through. Like, I think they got through with 3 draws. I was going to say, like, based on a few of the comments and questions, United Till I Die says, "Can anyone explain what Anderson actually does?" I think Anderson, that clearly he does a lot of things. Winning the ball back, I think, is a key thing. Maybe you're not going to see in games where England are dominant. I don't think Anderson's going to look like the best player. I think Bellingham actually looked more effective, more dangerous. So I think Bellingham was putting in great passes, great sort of balls to like linking up with Saka, linking up to in the end. I think he was got the Harry Kane assist. I think Bellingham's like really looked good last night. But again, teams are not going to make it easy for England. I think we've seen a few teams that struggled, like Spain struggled in a few games, which I saw them. They looked a bit average. I think at the moment, I think the scary thing about France is Mbappe was looking good, fine, and they kept finding Dembele, and Dembele looked amazing. Like in the last match, he was just
Yeah.
like he only hits like a great finish, and you go, "Wow, that's brilliant!" Like it's his second goal ever in a World Cup. Then he gets his third goal about 10 minutes later, and then he gets a hat trick, and think, I'm kind of like seeing more hat tricks in this World Cup than I think we've actually had in World Cups for decades. But I think with Anderson, I think he's going to get scrutinised now by Man United fans, and he wasn't the best. He wasn't amazing, but again, I think it's difficult to gauge in like a couple of games.
I think it's so important for the English setup. And what I've been seeing is him winning grand duels, his marking, pressure on players, recycling the ball, forward carries. I think he's been prolific. He's playing in a different role, slightly deeper at times, but I think he's been great. I think the person that's had an off, not as being as effective, is Rice. I don't know if he's carrying an injury or something, but I don't think, other than the set pieces, I don't see too much from him. Kobe Mainoo can't get a break at the moment. I don't know if he will feature, and if he does, I think they couldn't. I don't think he wanted to risk it yesterday. But I was quite happy with the team he put out. I'm so glad Saka's starting finally. I know he's coming back, and I was so glad that Rashford did, because Gordon and Madueke on the wings, I was just like, why are they starting ahead of those other two players? So glad to see that he changed that up. I thought he might have gone for 3 at the back with the issues with the full backs, but he stuck with the back 4. Yeah, look, there's it's a delight. I get disappointed because some of the matches start at 1 o'clock in the morning and I just miss them, so I can't do it. But I did hear from you, Rich, that you said that you're able to watch them on RTV player because they don't show the scores, and then you're just able to enjoy the match. I haven't been afforded that much time. I would love to. I've been watching the highlights of some.
I was watching it all the time. I was watching the highlights. I was watching highlights of them, but short highlights on YouTube. But because it doesn't have the score in the thumbnail, I was just like watching some of them blind and just thinking, let's see how this game goes. But there's been like I'm not a big fan of the World Cup. This is the first World Cup though. There's just way too many games. Like I didn't realize there's like about 6 games I hadn't seen this morning. I was looking at it thinking, there's just like way too many games, like way too much football.
It's the end of it, the group stage now, isn't it? The knockout stage is starting this evening.
It feels like the competition is going to properly start now.
Yeah.
Sally said he's happy Tuchel didn't come to us, and say, I think with like Tuchel, I'll just say let's see how the tournament evolves, because I think England they never look fantastic in the group stage, and I think I quite like the decision to get. For me, like Gordon can't really start. Like you've got to have a goal threat, haven't you? Like in terms of like your left wing, your right wing. Yeah. And I think Rashford does carry a goal threat. And again, he didn't get there, but you saw Rashford getting shots on target. He keeps the defenders deeper because they can't give Rashford the space. You can give Gordon more space, in my opinion, because he's going to be less dangerous with the ball. But we'll have to see. I think in terms of like France, if we're playing a team like France, maybe I would say Saka and Rashford have got to be in the team, because you've got to have a significant goal threat on the counter-attack. And to be honest, if England are against a team which is perceived as being better, maybe Rashford's going to be the perfect player to have, because he is good as a counter-attacking force. I don't think we've got anyone quite as... He kind of combines the speed of Gordon in short bursts, but with a clinical goal threat. So we'll have to see. I kind of like draw the line at midnight, 1 o'clock in terms of games.
Well, I went to bed after the second goal because in my heart I knew there wasn't going to be a third, and lo and behold. But I think it's a head scratcher when I look at Barca and Gordon. The only thing I can think of is the 10 goals that he got in Champions League last season. They want to do well in the Champions League, and I think maybe they're looking at him for that. But I think if that's all they're pinning it on, I don't know. It's still a head scratcher for me, Gordon, to Barca, but it is what it is. I wish them success.
One of the things I would say as well, looking at every team in the World Cup, and we've seen enough of them now, I think we're too much for some of them, that I don't see any team that looks like they've got a really good defense. So, like France looked a little bit shaky in some games. You've seen a lot of teams as well hit on the break a bit. Spain doesn't look amazing. England look a bit ropey. Brazil.
Yeah.
I just think with this one that it's kind of like playing into the sort of football I want to see, because I get the feeling that you're not going to win this game 1-0 or any game 1-0. You're going to have to score a few goals, because I was looking at Congo last night as well, because that's the team that England are going to play. And they scored 3 good goals, like a couple from distance. So you can't really hope to shut a team down. Like we played quite well against Croatia and conceded 2 goals. And there's something about this football, I think, that's just flying in from distance. Like it's not a one-off.
I think it's the ball. I think definitely the ball, because they are taking more kicks from outside. I was just going to say quickly about Jordan yesterday. That was a sumptuous goal against Argentina. It's just pin perfect ball. That ball into the box, and the guy went flying at it with 2 legs and got it in. It came off the keeper, but that ball was just sumptuous. It's so nice to kind of see, the teams that are kind of coming into either first or second World Cup, getting the back of the net. I think that's, I think it's great for the fans. I think it's great for the competition. I was a bit concerned that some of these teams are going to come in and just be utilized as training practice, so they can bump up their confidence for the bigger teams. But in fact, some of the teams that are there have really done themselves a good service, and it's really kind of good to see a broader World Cup. There is talk that it's going to be extended further, which will be interesting.
No, they've got to kind of get the balance right, I think, because it feels a bit like, I saw Daz in the comments about 10 minutes ago. It feels a little bit like the World Cup starts properly now, in terms of when I was watching games in the group stage, there's nothing like the threat being knocked out to make the games more watchable, is there? As soon as you look at it, and as soon as you got jeopardy on the line. So I was watching England pretty relaxed, thinking England are through anyway. As soon as we beat Croatia in the first game, we're going to go through. Yeah. But I was thinking against Congo, every minute it's 0-0. You're going to think one shot from distance is going to be. And again, I think this is one of those World Cups where I think the games are going to be a bit more unpredictable, because every team I've seen that looks like a team of minnows, they've had a goal threat. So it could be interesting. So we'll go through a few of the stories. I'll just say welcome to NT as well, in the chat, saying I think we should get players like BOUADDI. Do you want to start with MATHEUS Fernandes? Or let's go with MATHEUS Fernandes to start with, because I think it's been like pretty much, if you're like MATHEUS Fernandes, the internet is not for you this week. It's been pretty much wall to wall. I took a couple of days off, came back, and literally nothing had happened, but there was thousands of streams about MATHEUS Fernandes. Where do you think he's going to go?
It's a difficult one. I mean, I still look at where our midfield priorities are, and I don't entirely know where MATHEUS Fernandes fits in that. He's defensively, I think he's fair. I don't think he's exceptional. I think he's press resistant, definitely. He'll win you the ball on the ground, and he will endeavour to make things happen. He's more progressive. I kind of look. See, the problem is sometimes when you look at the market and you wonder, if you don't get Fernandes, what is the plan? Because we've been chasing him for so long. Well, it appears that we've been chasing him for so long. He's been linked to us for at least 2 months, it feels. I honestly, Rich, I'd be quite happy if he went to Spurs. And that's, and this is my opinion of Fernandes. I think he's a luxury player. I think if we were getting 4 midfielders, Fernandes would be the 4th. Ideally, and as a Man United fan, I would love a Tchouaméni. I would love a BOUADDI as a person that learns from him, and alongside Mainu, someone who rotates with him. I would go for a Sangari, or I would go for a Stella. That's the type of players that I kind of want in the squad. I think Fernandes for me is luxury, and I'm not entirely sure we need him, because I kind of see him he's a hybrid 8, but I see him more progressive. And so I kind of think he circulates with Bruno. But if we go to a 4-3-3, Bruno then gets switched to the right. What happens to the right? We have Mbeumo there, we have Ahmad there, and then we're on the left, and it just complicates it. So I just don't exactly know where Fernandes fits. So for me, it's definitely a no. And I really hope he does go to Spurs, and I made a very cheeky comment a couple of days ago. If Spurs are the only club that are bidding for him, that tells me all I need to know. It may be harsh.
I think with this one as well, that when the story first came out, and it was at least 2 months ago, and I think I was talking probably a month ago where it said Man United had been in talks for way ahead of the other teams as well. I get the feeling that Man United just thought they could get a certain price point. Cody thinks it's something to do with data team has spotted. I think a lot of people thought we were going to get a cheaper deal because they got relegated.
Yeah.
I think when it first came out that. Do you remember the day that I did a stream where I said 85 million, that's the amount that West Ham wanted? And my first sentence was, ignore the 85. There's no way he's going to be 85 million because this number is ridiculous. And it seems that's what they want. I remember, do you remember when we saw that Nottingham Forest wanted 125 for Anderson and we thought, what is this nonsense? And they got it. So I don't know. It feels like if we got him for 85, it just doesn't feel like a good deal.
It's crazy, and it's kind of like he's 21, and he's 2 seasons in the Prem, both the teams that are relegated. Okay, you can put that out and say, look, was he the standout player in those 2 teams? I'm not entirely sure he was, but I think he had good performances during both spells. When I look at him, I kind of think he's a 40 million player. And I think if we're then caressing 60 or 70 million, that 60 or 70 million that isn't available for other players, is he then one of our marquee signings? I just don't trust Ineos. So that's my big concern, and I agree with you entirely. I think they thought they could get him for 40, 45, maybe 50 at a push million, and West Ham aren't playing ball. So I know the papers are talking about it. I hope it's just paper talk. I hope we aren't still pursuing him if the price is like 65, 70, 75, because I think for that bracket, I think there are far better players in the league. I think Alex Scott is a better player than Matheus Fernandes. I think Wharton is a better player, although he may cost more. I think Belieber has better form and has played in a better team than Fernandes. So I think BOUADDI has a better ceiling. He's younger, but he's shown at the World Cup that he is old beyond his years. Is a better opportunity. I said Sangari at Lens is a far better acquisition, pound for pound, than if we've got Fernandes. So I'm looking at the value of the player, because it's all going to come down to money. And we can rotate these midfielders. We can fit them into any system that we need to. We can have a defensive anchor, and we can have a hybrid 6-8, or we could have 2 8s. We can do that if we get 4 midfielders. I'm just not a fan. I really aren't, Rich. I kind of think for that kind of money, there is better value in the market.
I think we're paying that. If you paid 85 million. For me, you're essentially predicting that Mathis Flanders is going to be a much better player in a couple of years' time, and there's no guarantee of that. I think a lot of people look at him as there's no doubt that West Ham had some good players, but they've been in the relegation fight the whole season. And I think that when we play against them, Bowen's a problem. No one's talking about him costing like 85 million. I think Paqueta was a good player. They sold him in January. I think it just feels a bit like if we got him for 85 million, say there was a news break tomorrow and it said, look, Spurs have signed him, I'd be thinking, okay, that's not the end of the world. We've got other targets. The thing that does concern me, though, is are Man United kind of hinging all their hopes on this? Because, like you said, he's been talked about for ages. I'll go through a couple of the comments just to feed into this. So Manuel Ugarte's injury, which is obviously couldn't have happened at a worse time for Ugarte at Man United, because I think Man United were looking to sell him. and saying in terms of this one, like Laurie Whitwell posted out something saying he had been a player lined up to sale. We know that. But I don't think we're going to be looking at crazy money for Ugarte. I'm sure it's like, was it like 25 million would have taken? So it's a bit of a blow, but I don't think I can't see how realistically that can impact our transfer window because we're talking about 20, 25 million here.
Yeah, I was gutted when I heard that because look, Carrick doesn't fancy him. He's not going to play him. He would have been shipped out in the summer. It would have been even if it was 25 million. It's 25 million that we get in. It helps to kind of soothe the money we paid for Edison and almost gives us a clean sheet to buy more. So that's the kind of disappointment. You know, we talked about the 280 million that Man United have in the squad cost ratio this summer under the UEFA 70% limits. They get another 100 million from the Champions League, and then also from player sales with Ugarte included. Could have been potentially another 100 million if you talk about Xerxes, Rashford, Ugarte, and there was a fourth. That hasn't come to mind, but there's also rumours of Mount possibly going, but I don't know how sure that is. So that they're the kind of things, and of course Hoyland's money too would have come in. So so we have the money. My fear is what then happens. So that's 25 million less. We're not spending at the moment. We've only spent 34. We have this massive amount of money that we could dip into. I'm worried about Ineos. I think they, and I've said this time and time again, I think they go for the easy deals. They don't go for the elite players because I don't think they're great negotiators. It's just my view. It's just my kind of sense. I think we overpaid for Euro. I think we paid the release clause on Xerxes. We paid the release clause on MATHEUS Cunha. We wanted to pay less for Ambumo. In the end, we ended up paying exactly what Brentford wanted. I think we paid over the odds for Seska, and we only got that deal because Arsenal dipped out. I think we paid over the odds for Edison with 1 year remaining. We could have probably got him for 28, and we got that because Atletico Madrid dipped out. We go for players that nobody else is chasing, or they've literally said we're coming to you, and we still end up paying top dollar for them. So it doesn't benefit us that they only want United because we can't negotiate a fairer price. I don't know about you, Rich, but when I aim for the best, I get it at the most competitive price, and I meet people in the middle. And if they're not prepared to meet me in the middle, I look elsewhere. We've never been met in the middle under Ineos. Where we got lucky, and it was a fee for Heaven that was fixated because of his age. We got lucky with Heaven, and possibly we're very lucky also with Euro. De Ligt has been a disaster, and Xerxes, Ugarte speak for themselves. So this is my concern: is that we want to win the league. We're all fans here. We want to win the league. We want to win the Champions League. You need to get a sprinkling of elite players to do that. You have to, and when you do that, you've got to bid higher. You've got to sell your project, and you've got to increase that wage. You just have to for one or two players. The other players in the team will understand that because these are elite players. They know they're not at that level, and maybe it pushes them to try and get to that level. We're not doing that, and that's my concern. We're not going to win a Premier League or a Champions League anytime soon if we keep sticking to buying mid players. When these are mid players, although very good mid players, the people at the top, the Cities, the Arsenals, the Liverpools, who are already above us and have had more success in the last 10 years, are going to stretch even further. And they're already doing that with the acquisitions they're getting. So that's my fear. I want us to give Carrick the tools. We say it time and time again. It was said about Amrin too. Give them the tools and get these players in early so they have a pre-season. We won't have any midfielders in coming at pre-season. Both our midfielders are out on international duty. So, we need to have the best chance. And part of that is getting the players in quick and getting the right players at the right price, but also getting in elite players too, which bring the level up. So I'm worried in that regard.
I'll go through a few of the comments because there's quite a few people, different views. I think a lot of people think that someone said fans are angry we're not paying 85 million for a one-season wonder. I think most people actually. I remember when the story first came out and said 85 million. I said maybe I could see 60, 65 being like a price Man United go for, considering West Ham had paid about 42 million for MATHEUS Fernandes a year before. You think, okay, they paid about 42. There's a sell-on clause of about 15%. And I was just thinking, I could see kind of 60, 65 being like a price. And again, everybody always pushed an initially quite high price tag. How do you feel about the Elliot Anderson price of like 130? Would you be happy if Man United went that sort of price? Because that would be maybe like, in terms of like, I know we used to splash money, but we used to splash it on the wrong players. If we did get the right players, are you happy to go like pretty big? Like, because we would have had to pay 130. Like, we thought we could get a better deal, but we wouldn't have got a cheaper deal than City, I don't think.
I always thought it was 116 million. So there's 116 million up front. So are we talking about add-ons on top of
Yeah,
that
so I
to
think with
push
the
it to
add-ons, just to
130?
think about how much, I think the add-ons are going to be, I don't know what the add-ons will be, but you have to assume they're part of the deal eventually.
Yeah, because I saw a couple of reports. I saw one report saying 130. I saw another report saying it was just 116, no more, and all cash. And this is City for you, all cash, 116 million. They are the cheekiest club I've ever known. They've got all these charges hanging over them, and they can flash out 116 million on top of all the rest of it. I would have paid it. I would have paid it. I said this before. You need to get. I don't know. Look, Tchouaméni is another issue. If Tchouaméni, I think, is a 95 million player already. I think if France win the World Cup, you're looking at 105, 110. Real Madrid will look at Anderson and say, well, this guy has one more. You can talk about Anderson's age. Maybe that brings him down a bit. But the international success on top of it is another accolade. And they don't need to sell, is the other thing. So that they could push that price cut up. Will United make that deal? No. Will United give the wage? They'll point to wage structure. This is my concern. So I would have gone for both. I think if we were a club that wanted to be at the very top, you get a Tchouaméni and an Anderson. You get it. You just do it. You have to do it because we are over here, and we were fortunate last season. Let's be really honest. We had one game a week. A lot of clubs were having really bizarre seasons. Their form was up and down. Acquisitions that they bought didn't really work. But that's not our problem. We had to kind of focus on what we did. One game a week last season. We're not going to have that luxury this season. So, we were, you and I discussed it many a time. We were threadbare.
Do you think, with that in mind, that Spurs are doing what we did last season, where I think Spurs look a bit desperate because they finished so low down the league. They know they're going to miss out on so much Champions League money that there's a fear motivation at Spurs where I think Spurs need to get players in. I'm not sure whether Spurs are going to pay 85. Maybe they are going to pay 85. But I think for Man United, just finishing third one season doesn't suddenly mean you're going to finish third or fourth next season because every team, look at the players that we're going to see going to Man City. I think Arsenal are going to spend big as well to try and recapture the title for a second year in a row. You're going to see Liverpool getting a better manager, and you can see they're going to be spending money as well. So all these teams around the top are going to be like spending and trying to improve. And Man United, we benefited from one game a week, and we're going to have to pay multiple games a week, maybe like 3 games in just over a week at some stage of the season. And at the moment, I do agree with Gregory that we used to pay for top players. But at the moment, it feels like Man United are doing what we used to do, where I did put a link in the chat, Jeff. There is a link in the chat if you want to join. I did think also that are Man United doing what we used to do, where we spend big when we miss out on Champions League football. Now we got it, we don't spend big because that kind of cycle. We used to see that where Ollie got top 4, then he got given not the best deals. I don't know. I'm a bit at the moment. I'm a bit skeptical of what's happening.
Just quickly, so the Anderson deal is actually 116 million, no add-ons, according to Romano. So it's 116. I would have taken that deal. 10 years, 23 years of age, probably be here for 10 years. It's 11.6 million a year. His wages are up to 300 a week. I could have done that. It's 5 years plus 1, 6 years. You keep him on that wage for 4 years. If he improves, you improve, and and hopefully by then you're winning a league or a Champions League. So I would have done those. And if we're getting a Tchouaméni, we're going to have a look at do a similar deal. So that's my big concern. Back in the day, the Glazers were getting kind of shirt sellers, and there was no football knowledge, there was no metrics. You know, look, we went for a right back, and we had 500 different players we looked at. I mean, that's how crazy their scouting was, and we got Wan-Bissaka. So I think we're much more nuanced in how we approach players, but I think we go for the mid-tier. And I think that's the problem, because if you go for the mid-tier, inevitably you end up mid-tier, but sometimes you have a bit of luck and you exceed your expectations, as did Carrick with the squad that we had last year. We can't do that again this year, especially with Liverpool, Arsenal. It's killing me that BOUADDI might go to an Arsenal or a City or even a Liverpool. You know, a Sangari will probably follow his manager, Pierre Sarge, to Crystal Palace, and that's gone. You know, we talk about these players, we see these players, we see the metrics, and and we don't take it. You know, if you don't want to be spending 116 million, well then get a BOUADDI, get a Sangari, you know, get a Fofana, a Malik Fofana. You know, there are so many different players. Get an Eamon Carey, get a Lucien Agume, get an Angelo Stiller. You know, get those players, because they'll be less, but they're just as good. But then we're not even doing that. And it's kind of like, sooner or later, you know, in a few years' time, BOUADDI's going to be a 140 million player, and of course we'll be linked with that, with no chance of us ever getting him. You know, it's just kind of like, they have the money, they know they have the money, they know that we need to have depth. They know we need to get these players in. They need to do better. They need to do much better, and they need to get people in who can negotiate well, because I haven't seen it from Ineos. In the 2 years that they've been here, they have not got a deal, as it were. They've always, like I said, release clause or paid the price.
It feels like if a player comes out and says, I want to join Man United, and they don't negotiate with any other club, we can get those deals. But let's be honest, anyone can get those deals.
Yeah.
When I saw this about an hour before I set up the stream, I saw this and I just thought, come on, like, Man City, like, you've already got the best target in the Premier League. And this, for me, I was saying a few times that if you look at what Man City are doing recently, this is exactly what Man United used to do. Who's the best players in the Premier League? Probably on last season's form, so Elliot Anderson. Who was one of the most exciting players to start the season? Semenyo. Who was one of the best value defenders you can get on a free? Mark Gahey. And City just getting every single deal. Do you remember last year we said, like, who's one of the best value for money signings in the French league? It's Cherki. Every single one of those players is drifting towards Man City. And I've been saying for a couple of years how much I rate BOUADDI. If he joins City, I'm going to be so pissed off, because it's just going to be like another one that's gone there. And it feels like there's an inevitability about it, that these players, I'm not a scout, but it's not rocket science, is it? When you see someone that's one of the best players of his age in the Champions League dominating against Real Madrid, I mean, what more do you need to see? And I think a few people that didn't know about BOUADDI probably watched Morocco and thought, who the hell is that guy dominating against Casemiro and Bruno Guimaraes? And if he goes to City, I'll be gutted.
And you know, he is such a great character. The guy is studying for a maths degree. All the scouts rate him. They say he keeps his head down. He's not interested in none of the noise. All he's interested in is improving as a football. He's your perfect player. And what City, if he does go to City, or if he does go to Arsenal, what they're doing is they're getting the players that they need now, and then they're safeguarding their future, which makes it even harder for us to penetrate that top three, the top two, and winning the league. And these are the kind of deals that we have to be doing, and it's sometimes you feel like you're banging your head against a brick wall with Ineos, because these are apparently sports people. We've got football people in Vivel, Omar, and Wilcox, and yet where's the movement? Where's the movement? Where's the progressive movement? Where's the scouting? Where's it? You know, Vivel was linked with all these kind of players across Europe. Where's the noise about that? It's all gone. So that's my big concern, is that we're going to struggle. We're going to struggle. It's 2 weeks into the window, people will say, but you have to make it relative to this. We're here. The people at the top are here, and they're already improving their squad. They've got a depth. They've got first teamers on the bench, and now they're improving that on top. You've seen what our depth was like, and we haven't even improved that. We've brought in one player. one player, and it's just like there's no sense of urgency, and that really concerns me.
Isn't it? Like,
Yeah,
it feels like we're behind in the race.
yeah,
And like a
already.
Formula One car's whizzed by, and we're sat there with like a Honda Civic and gone, well,
We're
we
waving the
could try,
flag.
we could try painting lines down the side, maybe changing the seat cover or something, and just thinking, look, we need a new car, we need a new engine. What's going wrong with this thing? And do you know what I find frustrating? That when Manchester United say, look, we're going to sign the next generation of football players, like we're going to sign the best players for the next generation. I just think, when? Like, are we going for like 15-year-olds and thinking, let's just get, because BOUADDI for me, he's like, what, 18 years old? He's perfect in terms of like, is he good enough now? Of course he's good enough now. You saw him against Brazil. He's not going to be worried about the Premier League. He looks at one of the best players outside PSG in the French league. And I don't know, it's not really difficult to scout him, is it? Because if you watch him play, he has a good game pretty much most of the time I've seen him play. And if you don't get him, where'd you go from this? Because if City get Anderson and get BOUADDI, they've literally got a midfield that's sorted for about 10 years.
Yeah.
At which point do Man United catch up? Like, where do we sign the players better than those two in the next couple of years?
And although he's a great acquisition, we've only got Edison, and it's just kind of like move, make a movement, do the signings. Everybody else is able to do it. Why aren't we? Why aren't we?
Yeah, I don't know. Mark says an oil-rich manufactured clubs destroyed English football. Do you think, okay, City's broken the rules, we know that, but is this on Man United? Because Man United should be run a lot better than it is. Despite City fabricating records and all the kind of like whatever they've been doing, Man United's turnover has been as high as City's for the last decade. Like the financial power we've had is the same.
Yeah. And we're going to have a record revenue this summer, despite not being in Europe last season. That tells you all you need to know.
Berber says we need a mix of quality and quantity. I mean, I'd take quantity to start with just to get some players through the door. Because at the moment, we've got Mainu and Edison as our. So we've lost Ugarte. Casemiro's gone.
Yeah. Kone's not the races. Thwarts is too young. Thwaites.
Do you get this feeling with this as well? What happens if Lamans picks up an injury pre-season, for example? There's literally there's no leeway in any position on the pitch, is there?
This is the thing, right? So it's almost it sometimes gets to the point that we won't do anything until we know our backs are against the wall, knives are to our throat. It's kind of like, where is the future planning? Where is the vision? Tell me. Don't do a 40-minute interview and tell me about your roots and how great it is to be in Manchester. Do your job. Do your job. I'm not interested in all that PR. Do your job. You and I can see it. The striker. Do we get in another striker? The left winger, are we getting in another left winger? Lewis Hall, we were linked with. That's apparently a no-no. So we're stuck. We're giving Shaw an extension for 2 years. What is the plan? We have players, central defenders, that are inconsistently available. What's the plan there? We have fullbacks that find it difficult to progress the ball. What's the plan there? We have a striker who's been rotated in and out. Are you going to play him every single game to bring his confidence up? And when he has a dip of form, who comes in to protect him? Because don't tell me it's Mbeumo. He's horrendous in that role. What are we doing about Ahmad? What have you been doing with him this summer? What's the plan if that goes to pot? All of these questions, and don't even get me started on midfield. We have two midfielders, and it's kind of like, and they're not even going to be available, and they're going to be exhausted from the World Cup. Brazil, I expect to go far, and England, I expect to go far. So they have their World Cup hangover. Bruno will be another. I'm gonna take a breath. Leave it with you for a while.
If you've got any thoughts or comments, I put the link in the chat a few times. If anyone wants to come on, you're welcome to come on. Emsky says this board clearly has no plan. I would say, from what I can see so far, if there is a plan, it's a very well disguised plan. Then the plan seems to be, like, based on the news, the plan seems to be to have a target, then say they're too expensive, then pivot towards a cheaper target, then eventually find out they're too expensive. And I'm just thinking, look, let's just like skip a few stages and just go straight to League One and start signing players from the French league, because there's some quality in that league as well.
So 70 million gets you BOUADDI, I'd say. 60 million gets you Sangari. That's 130 million. Do the deals. Do you know how happy I would be with that? Because I know it may, people think, okay, young, no, but we've got two pivotal players. Mainu knows his club inside out. He's an experienced midfielder now. I look at him like that. He's an assured, experienced midfielder. Edison has had years of experience behind him. He's an assured midfielder too. So if you're looking at assuredness, when you're thinking, okay, BOUADDI, Sangari's coming, Sangari's from another league, so is BOUADDI, and they're young. I still would I will still do that. I will do that deal because I think you have that thing. And I think we're disguised by the fact that BOUADDI is young. His control of midfield is exceptional, and it's only going to get better. And I think the Premier League is a place where he really bursts into life. And I think the same is true of Sangari. So I would love that as a midfield. And then you go on to the left wing. You go on to possibly fullbacks. You go to. I mean, Rich, aren't you concerned that we don't have a left back coming in? It's kind of like all that talk about Lewis Hall. To me, that was the #1 signing we had to make this summer.
It made a perfect signing, wouldn't it? Do you know the frustrating thing is that when we signed Maguire to a contract extension, you go, okay, right, fair enough. I can see reasons why. Like De Ligt got injured. He didn't take, maybe he should have had an operation earlier. I think there's definitely something going on behind the scenes regarding that one. But the question is going to be that at some point you have to look at it and go, are Man United just failing to bring in players? So are we going to have a situation in a year's time where we go, right, Luke Shaw's going to extend for another couple of years, which I think is a mistake. Are we going to see Mazraoui and Dalot never leaving because we literally can't sign their replacements? It feels a bit like if you join Man United, I'll say this to MATHEUS Fernandes, if you join Man United, you've probably got a contract for life, because as long as you're not useless and you don't get injured, you're probably going to, as long as you're mediocre and you can play, you probably get an extension every few years. Because I think the problem is that how are you going to fix your team if you just keep keeping mediocre players on? You got to try and improve. Like, can you imagine Alex Ferguson in charge and we had Onana? He gets 3 games maximum, in my view. Bayern probably the same, and then Alex Ferguson would be like, I can't work with these shit goalkeepers, and they would be moved out, I'm sure. I think at the moment there's a lot of like Michael Carrick's not going to see too much, and I think there is a bit of a danger that Michael Carrick, I don't know if he's going to get thrown under the bus. I think most people would realise if Man United mess up this transfer window, it's not going to matter who's in charge. Like, if you don't sign some midfield players, it doesn't matter who the head coach is. It's going to be largely irrelevant. But he will get the blame, I'm sure.
And this thing about urgency is kind of like, so Lamens to me is a perfect example. You just remind me when you talked about Nana and Bayern. Anyone with 10% eyesight can see that they were horrendous goalkeepers last season and needed replacing. They delayed and delayed. You know, this whole kind of thing about let's have patience, the window's only open. We missed out on pre-season. He came in late, and then we had Bayern for those games, and we had Onana for that horrendous Carabao Cup. I can't remember the team now. Who did we lose to? Grimsby. So had we got Lamens in earlier, we may not have had that embarrassment of Grimsby, because Lamens may have been in goal, and we may have got more points on and could have spurred on a better season for us. You know, it's kind of like, do the deals, do them now, show that you're professional, show that you understand what needs to happen, because all of these cogs impact the season. You get your players in, you start your pre-season, and then you're ready for the league. You get your players in late, right into the back end of August. You've already missed pre-season and you've missed a couple of games. Other players are already up to speed. You're having to adapt. You're behind already. And it's kind of like, we need a bit of luck to even be playing in the same reign as these top teams who have got it fine-tuned. They are leaps and years ahead of us. You know, we might not want to admit it. We might want to say we're mighty Man United, but Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City are way ahead of us. They are way in terms of depth, in terms of getting the acquisitions quick. They do it. They don't dilly
What
dally.
concerns me is that if Man United want to get BOUADDI, as an example, if Manchester United has already fixed left back situation, we had a good backup goalkeeper for Lamans, we had a good backup striker for Sesko, we had a functioning midfield. If you're BOUADDI, you look at Man United and go, actually, this is a great team. But the more we don't fix our team properly, when we're trying to get some of these players, like BOUADDI's going to look at City, look at Man United, look at Liverpool, because they're the teams that are going to be interested in him. And Man United we can say basically, we finished third last season in a year where we had no European football. Whereas Man City can say, look, we missed out on the league, but we've got Semenyo, Gahey, Anderson. We're going to win the league next season. We're going to try and be back in Europe. So for me, if I was going to make a convincing argument, and I had like the last 2 or 3 years of Man United's history, or I've got Arsenal or City or Liverpool, we've got 3 teams now that are 3 rival teams at the top of the league, have all won the league in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And Man United are nowhere near that. So it's for me, it's like if you don't rate Anderson, or you don't rate MATHEUS Fernandes, or you don't rate Lewis Hall for the sort of money, then I think the thing is that it's not about which players you get. You've got to be shown that you're actually a club that's going to be doing what it takes to try and win trophies. Because players like BOUADDI, like I said, he's focused on improving, and he's a perfect player because he's serious about his football career. In a way that could make it more difficult for us, because if he's serious about his football career, does he want to go to a club that from the outside sometimes doesn't look like it is that serious?
Well, he wants to be, he's studying maths, so let's hope he can see the formula in our madness. Gregory's point is bang on. I was looking at that thing, so patience doesn't bring you rewards in the transfer windows. It gives you leftovers. And the thing is, now that Anderson has gone for 116 million, people will start pushing their prices. We're talking about elite signings. They'll all go for around that mark, right? That's done. United have missed the boat on that. And then the lesser signings, they'll push up too. We're lucky that Anderson wasn't 130 or 135 million, because that would have increased it a lot. So the counter argument to that is this. Isak went for 125 million last summer. We were still able to get Sesko. I still think we paid over, but we got him for 73. So sometimes it doesn't have the same wave. It doesn't have the same ripple. But the supply and demand for midfielders is like this. And everybody knows that Man United need midfielders. So the longer they leave it, I think the steeper the price gets.
It's a bit like me driving around the village I live saying I desperately need to buy a certain item, which is pretty much hard to get hold of. People are going to go, actually, here it is, but the markup's going to be massive.
Yeah.
It's like we're effectively... when people say about how does the Ugarte situation affect us, I didn't even think about how much money Man United are going to get for Ugarte, because Man United's turnover is going to be close to 700 million, and we're going to be make or break based on Ugarte selling him for what, 2025. Like, that's not going to make a difference. We can realize that on the books, but effectively Ugarte is about as valuable as a logo on our shirt at the moment. Like, that's how much we get. We get 20 million pounds a year from our training shirt sponsor. So that's kind of how much money Ugarte is worth to Man United. So for me, that's a really bad excuse if they're using that as an indication we can't buy. Of course we can buy. I think it's a bit frustrating that we're not doing. One of the things I would say about this one is I saw a really bad story about Greenwood recently, and it was based on, I don't know who's offering to buy him. I think it might be Fenerbahce. And apparently they're offering 30 million. And I was like, that is nowhere near enough, because we got a big sell-on clause. I hope that he doesn't go there.
They won't sell him for that, because they know there's a big sell-on clause, so they want to make their money. It's similar to what West Ham are doing, and similar to why Forest held out, because they owed money. I think it was to Bristol City as part of that deal that bought him there. So I can't see that. He's had a great season although it pains me to say, but he's had a great season.
The only thing I can think of a Man United strategy that they might be going for is, I think there was a story about a week ago about Man United looking at, I think it's Liverpool's academy and City's academy for certain players they're going to try and poach. And it's a little bit like the Heaven deal, because if you're going to get a player from the academy, it's effectively, I think it's a panel that sets the fee. So it would be like a couple of million maximum. And is that the route we're going to go down? We're going to try and raid academies because we're not actually prepared to sign players. I mean, I'm trying to find some positives, but I can't really find too many. I'm usually quite optimistic, but the last couple of weeks, I've just been looking at the information and you know when you get an idea where players are going to go, and I think as soon as players start significantly being linked to Man City, their hit rate is pretty high, isn't it? That when you see significant articles, and if City come out and say they want a player, they tend to get the player. It's a little bit like Man United 30 years ago, which is a bit. It feels like there's an inevitability about it.
I've always been a glass half full, and just before I Karen speak for another. This is a call-in show. This is your show. You've heard me ramble on for about an hour. You'll probably come on here and make more sense in 5 minutes than I did in the last 40. So please call in. We would love to hear you. This is a great show just to have a platform for you to say, look, there's been so much noise, so many articles. There's loads to discuss. It'd be really, really good to get you on and just give you your time to speak. And say how you see it, because it's really important we get to see how everybody's seeing it, because at the moment the conversation is centered here. We really want to broaden that out and see the different spectrum of views, so please do call in. We'd love to hear from you. We really would. And with that, I forgot what I was going to say.
I'll go for a few of the comments. If you want to put comments in because you don't want to come on, that's fine. I'll read some of the comments. But it's trying to give people an opportunity to have the say if they want. And was it Roma? I think it was Fenerbahce I saw, but there's apparently a couple of teams linked to Greenwood. But I think that Marseille want to get at least 50 million. So I think ideally for Man United, the more the better. For this one, we got a 50-60% sell-on clause. So United are driving around an old banger. The thing is, United driving around an old banger. It needs fixing. Effectively, the exhaust has fallen off now with Ugarte getting injured. It doesn't change the fact that the car was not good enough anyway. It's just, it feels like Man United have gone, don't worry about the car. It's going to win a Grand Prix in a year's time. And we're probably sat there thinking, don't think it is, unless it gets significantly changed so it's unrecognizable at this point in time.
Malpa makes and I think we've been saying that throughout the season. City, Liverpool, Arsenal have two teams. We haven't even got a starting 11, and we're missing key personalities now. Also, in the dressing room, we need to bring in winners. We talk about this time and time again. We need winners, because when you're on that pitch, who do you look to, right? So sometimes if that winner isn't coming from within, we've got one or two. But we need more. You don't win the league with one or two winners. You build 3 or 4 or 5, and then you start winning and make the rest of the team winners. So we really need to go hard. We need to get the personalities in. We need to get the young players who have the great mentality and massive ceilings. So we need to do all of that. We need to get the experience. We need to get the younger players that will hit the ground running too, and we need to fill the academy. They've done that, but they've done that on a mid-level. So now it's kind of like, what's the next step up? But also, just alongside caressing all of that is a lack of depth. It's so important that we get that depth in. Otherwise, like you say, what happens if Lamens gets injured? What happens if Mainu or Edison gets injured? What happens if Sesko gets injured? It's kind of like, these are really kind of pivotal questions. What happens with our fullbacks? Our defense is chaotic at best, and it's just kind of like on a really good day.
Say that, based on your questions, though, we have one striker at the club, one left back, one goalkeeper, 2 midfielders. And in terms of say one Bruno Fernandes, there is no other Bruno backup, really, is there? No. Unless you count Mason Mount, who's nowhere near as good. And you've got Cunha and Mbeumo. And if you take those out of the team, you probably could say you've got Dorgu and Amad Diallo, but they're not going to be the same level. I think one of the things the World Cup has shown us is that the striker at Brentford, I think Cunha's on a different level to him based on what I've seen in the World Cup. I think Cunha does look outstanding. And I think he could be potentially someone that covers as backup striker, but then you're kind of losing him. So I think United have effectively got a first 11. If we tried to do a second 11, it would look pretty poor by comparison to a lot of other top teams. And that's the difference between Man United. We relied heavily on our first 11, and it got us top 3. It got us third in the league. But if you're trying to put out a good team twice a week, it's going to catch up to Man United, isn't it? We're going to struggle a bit. But that's why I think a lot of us were saying, like, no one's going to sit here and say, "Oh, get MATHEUS Fernandes in, right? That's the league wrapped up." But we're going to say MATHEUS Fernandes is one player we need. But I think most people would say then, can you get a BOUADDI? Can you get a Tchouameni? Can you get Alex Scott or something? Make sure you've got four midfielders that are going to be maybe potentially that we can't really tell who the weak ones are. You've got the bit of depth here. So I did see a comment early on saying, would MATHEUS Fernandes would he bench Mainu? I think I'd love to see Mainu in the World Cup because I think Mainu is the sort of player that thrives under pressure, never looks out of place when there's stressful situations. I hope he does play in the knockout stage because I think his calmness might be required when I think inevitably at some point it's going to be difficult for England. And I think someone like Mainu could put his foot in the ball, could make sensible decisions. Him and Bellingham, I think, have got the right mentality, assuming Declan Rice doesn't look fully fit.
I think, what's really interesting about what you're saying there and what it reminded me of is that Ineos seem to be getting utility players that can play in several different positions. And the problem with that, although it's a good thing to have, the problem with that is nobody gets to harbour their trade. So when Mbeumo is going from right wing to right attacking midfield to striker all in one season, he's having to follow different instructions. He's never going to fine tune it. In his first season, we're under 3 different managers. That's what he's having to do. Cunha, the same. You do the same with Mazraoui, right centre back, right back, left back. You do it with the wingers. You do it with Dorgu, left back, left wing back, right attacking midfielder, left attacking midfielder. You do it with Cunha, left attacking midfielder, striker. And it's kind of like, no other club does that. It's kind of like we're trying to get the least amount of players and we're going to keep moving the pieces. You don't build successful teams that way. And you certainly don't get the best out of your players because they're having to follow so many different instructions. They must be on the pitch thinking, what's the instruction I'm supposed to be doing today? It's kind of like...
Also, I was going to say, also, you try and build up a relationship between... I saw something last night. We're going to bring on Kenny in a second. I'm just going to say, in terms of like relationships on the pitch, I think one thing that's important is when England have got an issue with right back at the moment, James got injured. No surprise. He's the one player probably in fullback that gets injured more than Luke Shaw. So I'm not surprised he got injured. I think Tuchel should have known that was going to happen at some point. But then when a replacement comes on, the first conversation is, right, how's he going to link up with Saka? But he's also getting used to being in the team. Whereas if for some reason Man United go, right, Dorgu, you're a left back today, you've got to be building up a relationship with either Aidan Heaven or with Maguire or whoever you're going to play alongside. And you've got to try and focus on that. And then also with link up play to Cunha. And then next week, right, you're going to be playing in Cunha's position. You've got to get a relationship with Benjamin Sesko and Bruno Fernandes. It's just asking the unrealistic because the Premier League is not a league which goes like, guys, take it easy on Man United today. Dorgu's not used to playing in left back because coaches are going to say, right, Dorgu's not used to playing left back. Let's pressurize him and let's maybe capitalize on maybe a bit of positional errors he might be prone to because he's not used to playing at Man United in that position. So I think it's asking for trouble because the Premier League is pretty brutal. They're not going to take any passengers. It's like it's like World Cup. Other teams aren't going to give a shit if England have got injury issues. If England make mistakes, they're going to get punished. And I think that Man United are setting themselves up for, like, having utility players is great if you've got one player covering a few positions as a backup. But what it feels a bit like is we've got effectively 15 utility players apart from Lamans. And I think that Ineos are thinking, let's just roll the dice and let's go, okay, this week we're going to play this player. Alex Ferguson did it well, but the majority of players played in the same position with Alex Ferguson. He tweaked things a little bit, but he had a very coherent plan. Big up, Kenny. Welcome, friend. How are you doing today?
What's good, Rich? What's good? What's good, Rich? And good to see you. We deserve better again. It's been a while.
It's lovely to see you, Kenny, and thank you for answering the call. We have our caller, and what a brilliant caller too. How are you?
Yeah, I've been all right. So far the World Cup has been really good so far. I mean, some like there were a bit of a controversial VAR decisions. Especially with the Iran one. I thought Iran got robbed with that goal. I thought that that didn't look like he was offside. Iran got absolutely they got screwed with that one. But anyways, back to the back to the club transfer in I just you know you know we deserve better. Has been saying what I've been saying last summer. Like we've been dragging this transfer. We've been dragging like one deal to another for a certain number of weeks. I remember like we struggled to get Brand Bomo over the line for
Yeah.
was it for 6 weeks, and then we left like lemons towards the deadline day or something like that. I remembered we had to play like Bayindir for like was it for the couple of games, and we had
Three matches.
Onana against Grimsby Town.
Grimsby.
That was
Yeah.
and then I remember that game, and he was clearly match fixing it.
They took the penalty and he tipped it into his own net. He saved it.
I still remember that, and I felt that day he was match fixing it. I was convinced till this very day. And now that he's had a second, here we go, but it's a second loan spell. I'm thinking, could this be another Sancho long, like his second long loan spell or something like that? I really hope he does well, so that at least we can have this Onana problem over and done with. But anyways, Onana one hopefully should be done. But yeah, Rich, man, like honestly, Man City are strengthening, and they're also linked with BOUADDI. I watched BOUADDI for like couple of months. I'm not saying like couple of years. I watched his couple of games in the Europa League, his couple of games at League On. He's really talented, and I wish we would have actually like scouted him a lot more. We could have actually at least maybe take a little bit of risk to actually get him over the line. Yeah, yeah. To be honest, at least he will be really good squad player. I'm not saying we should be starting him now. And like what exactly we deserve better. What was saying we need depth, because next season, if we are only going with Edison, Kobe Mainu, and Mason Mount,
Yeah.
oh boy, I mean, we might as well just not even compete for the Champions League, because it's like, this squad you can only just use for. With this squad, you can't just simply rely on like the same entire starting 11 for in all competitions. I remember those Ten Hag, his first season, like where we had like a squad that. Remember when like Licha got like injured in the Europa League?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where, and then we had Harry Maguire. That's the quality depth that we've been absolutely missing for years. You see, Arsenal need to worry. They already had that, and they're going to add, and their priority is to get a winger right now. And then Man City already added an Anderson, in which the club was working for him the last 9 to 10 months, and just to let Man City take him. And now there was no other midfield talks. There was no Joinimi. Okay, Joinimi, I heard something a little bit, but and then
Just
I've yeah. Yeah.
just to quickly interject. So your opinion on the Anderson deal? Would you have dealt at 116 million if he was willing to come? And also, who do you think, now that that's gone, who would you want to bring in midfield, and who are the other signings that you're saying that we need to strengthen, so that we do well in the Champions League and we do have a concerted effort in the Premier League?
In my honest opinion, my ideal signing will be, right, like with the likes of Lewis Hall. If not for Lewis Hall, I would go for that Bournemouth left back Trufford. That would be a really solid plan B signing. And as for the midfield signing, Chouameni, I'll go with Chouameni. I'm not sure about Fernandez, but I've got this feeling like we will still get Fernandez, but it's going to take a while because you know about Gleanios, they're going to take a while to do it. And personally, I will go with then I will go with what was the guy I mentioned? Boadi. I will get him
Already,
as
yeah.
well. Yeah, I'll get Boadi. I'm not sure. Like I would love to also get Tonali, but you know I don't think Newcastle will actually sell it to us.
And Kenny, you said you watch Liga. What's your view on Sangari and Agume?
I was more focused on Boadi to be honest.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm not.
fair enough.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about Sangari. Yeah, the first time I heard about Sangari was I mean the only Sangari I knew was the Forest player
Yeah,
till
of course.
until
Ibrahim.
base. Yeah. Yeah. Is it the guy from like RC Lons? Or I think that is
He
the
is,
football.
yeah. So
Yeah, I think so.
he won the award last season for best African player in Liga. His metrics, his stats, his play, his he's old before old beyond his years. Also, just prolific, great deep anchor. If we're looking at a deep anchor, he's perfect at that. Physically strong too. And it looks like he will follow his manager to Palace, and I think they know Wharton's gone. They've already got an ideal replacement lined up, and it's kind of like we know Casemiro's gone. Where's our Palace are doing it? Where's our ideal replacement?
Yeah,
They've
exactly.
got
I'm
replacements lined up, haven't they? I saw a couple of comments. Just want to ask your opinion as well, Kenny, and we'd say better this one that Man United have been spending a bit of time over the last couple of years, maybe raiding other academies, stocking our academy a little bit. Is that something that I'll say my opinion straight away? If Man United rely on the academy, we got a serious problem.
Yeah.
But I think it can augment things. But
exactly.
you've got to get the first team fixed first, in my opinion. But is there any chance that this is going to help us a little bit? Says Ian. Like say when I remember when Man United sold Hughes, Kanchelskis, and Ince because rival fans were telling me Man United are finished, and at the time I was thinking, I mean, I really like Mark Hughes, I really like Kanchelskis, so I'm not particularly happy. But Man United, obviously, they knew what was coming through. I think, to be honest, like if we're talking about probably the best academy in a generation, or probably ever, in terms of the early '90s Man United players, I don't think we've got anything close to that coming through at the moment. But what were your thoughts?
What are your thoughts, Kenny?
I honestly think like we have to fix the first team first with before like we possibly think about academies. You know, I think that midfielder, what's his name, Jim Twites or whatever his name is. I think
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think he could be the one to break in. I think JJ Gabriel. JJ Gabriel will be the one to watch as well. But I think he will. I think it'll take some time to fill it in because I think or maybe he might play like under 17s or under 18s for a couple of years and until he turns 18. That's what I think. Yeah, but other than that, we have to fix our first team. Otherwise, it will be even worse and worse. Like from next season, and I really don't want that to happen. I don't want anything to happen with Carrick. You know, I just don't want Carrick to be thrown under the bus. You know.
I think on the JJ Gabriel, I think he starts he's registered this season because he missed
Okay.
out last season because he wasn't quite 16. It's 15 and certain amount of months that you need to be registered, and he wasn't. This year he is. I think he has a contract that he needs to sign next July. I think he gets
Okay.
some minutes, not many, probably cup games. I would utilise him in. I wouldn't be utilising him at all, but you have to utilize him just to make sure he stays, and that's the way football
I was
is.
going to say it's a balancing act, isn't it? You've got to be mindful that Barcelona are kind of our nemesis. We'll definitely be trying to poach him, and other clubs, if they got any sense, will be trying to do that.
They came a year ago, and there was an emergency meeting between Wilcox and JJ's parents, and they, on the final day, were able to convince him to stay, and he signed 2 years. But that then expires next
Apparently
August.
they were taking him round. Is it La Masia? Is it the Barcelona academy?
Yeah.
they've been taking. I think JJ Gabriel's parents have been invited there, so you have to be. It's one of these situations where like Rudy said is right. In an ideal world, JJ Gabriel gets introduced slowly, but it's probably like a trade-off where you need to give him a
Yeah,
taste of first team Man United football to make sure he doesn't disappear off to Barcelona, because that would be a nightmare for Man United.
yeah.
Hmm.
And just quickly on that, I think Thwaites possibly gets a look in next season. I hope his minutes are limited. We can't rely on Thwaites and the Fletcher twins. If that's going to be our answer to pushing for the Premier League and the Champions League, I'm stopping watching football today because it's unfair on them. Is the truth of it. It's unfair on them. You kind of one bad game and you could just imagine the noise, and it doesn't help their confidence. You harbour that talent and you introduce them in slowly. They could be great.
Surprising though, with hindsight, is it kind of surprising how well it worked for Mainu? Because Mainu came in as a bit of an unknown, and I think some of his first games were quite tricky games, like away to Everton, and then he played a European game, and he just looked like he played for Man United for ages. I think a lot of people assume that's kind of standard. Whereas if you remember Hannibal, he was on the pitch for about 10 minutes, probably should have been sent off straight away for like a pretty aggressive challenge. And I was thinking, for every Mania, there probably is a Hannibal, although most people are in the middle somewhere. I think that Thwaites has got loads of potential. Fletcher looked like they've got loads of potential, those brothers. But if Man United are going to go right, don't worry, guys. We didn't manage to get too many. We didn't manage to get Anderson, but we're going to chuck in some academy players. I'd be thinking, are you guys serious?
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, unfortunately, but yeah.
If it works, it'd be amazing. But to be honest, there is a, I don't know. It should be a smooth process. I was thinking like Mainly would have had such a easier transition if he'd been played alongside Casemiro in a sensible setup, and like once every other every 2 or 3 games or something, having a bit of a. But no, maybe we get lucky and get Thwaites up to speed quickly, but I think it's a massive gamble, isn't it?
You mentioned Hall, Kenny. You mentioned Boadi as your midfielder. But was there another midfielder that you mentioned?
So Boadi, Chouameni,
and Hall. Would you look at the left wing?
At the moment, no. I don't think winger for me should be a priority at this moment in period of time, because I can't go into next season like seeing Luke Shaw overlapping in bloody 2027.
It's crazy, isn't it? And then on the other side, we've got Delo and Mazraoui, and I just kind of think that they have some qualities. I think Mazraoui has more than I think Delo gets in the right positions.
And he just
he's suddenly like switch off. And could you imagine the difference, the pressure it would take off our attackers if we had decent fullbacks, and the interchanging that would happen, and the pressure that you would put on the team's defenders and midfielders, and that's why Lewis Hall, to me, was a no-brainer, and I still can't understand why we're not progressing that.
Yeah, I don't know either. At first, like a couple of weeks ago, I heard about Lewis Hall. I was like, yeah, like Lewis Hall. I just heard like Lewis Hall kind of he basically fell out. He basically fell out with like Eddie Howe and Newcastle. So I thought he's open to leave, and surely, surely we should have actually gotten the fullbacks sorted out. Instead of maybe being stuck with this Fernandes deal, at least we at least at that time we can at least complete the fullback signings. So. Yeah.
Are you worried?
At the moment, yeah, I'm worried. Yeah, because I know they will say it's still June. We have to wait till the financial year and all that. I mean, I don't care about what other clubs are doing. We have to care about us. Like, we have to fix this midfield, otherwise we are in massive trouble. From next season.
And just a view on the centre backs. What's your thinking on what's happening with our centre backs availability? Do you think that needs to be reinforced? What's your view on how that's shaping up for next season?
The center backs, I don't really see much. I don't really see much of an issues in my opinion. Yeah, I just think the midfielders have been an issue for years now. So, yeah, as long as we just get the quality of midfielders, I feel like there'll be loads of pressure to be taken off from the center backs. That's just my views on it.
You
Yeah.
excited? Are you excited about Champions League next season?
I mean, like in the new format. E- Yeah, maybe, but I actually prefer the group stages. I'm not gonna lie. I actually like the actually I used to like the old version, like group stages, like I used to watch, like during my primary school days. We all us during the primary schools, we used to get excited about Champions League group stages, and
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know about the league format and all that, but it feels like, yeah, I mean, like from like what I've seen from the league format last season, like seeing Spurs finishing fourth in the league format stage, I was like, I mean, the quality of the Champions League last season, it wasn't great, in my opinion.
Yeah, of course it was. And
Um,
Arsenal got to the final.
and
Exactly. If
and
Arsenal can get to the final, then we should be seriously
yeah,
looking at
we should
trying
be
to.
like we should have been in the final. Like, it's just getting on. It just got into my nerves. Like, I'm like, how did this Arsenal side actually won the league, man?
Oh, it's crazy, wasn't it? Anti-football.
Yeah, it's just like, I was like, I was like when Arsenal scored that goal from Havertz, I was like, guys, prepare to sleep until half time. Prepare to sleep. Oh my god. Yeah, and then I literally woke up at I've woken up like around 45 minutes. Just had some coffee, and then yeah, thankfully, Arsenal gave away the penalty, and that's where the game came alive. And yeah, thanks to PSG, and thanks for Gabriel for missing that penalty. Football has been saved.
A bit of a karma for that one. I think I'm actually looking forward to the Champions League format because Man United haven't been in it for a while.
Yeah.
It feels like we can fast track and play a lot of different teams. Like we can play. So I know that with the group stage, got to the stage where you kind of get bored of playing the same teams over and over again. And I think that it might
Mm.
be a bit of a refresh for Man United, and maybe we can. I'm hoping we do get a big team as well. I'm hoping we get to play against Amarin's team for a fact. I really hope Man
Yeah,
United.
wait, isn't
We've got a friendly
yeah,
against
I
them, haven't
thought
we?
I know it shouldn't
yeah,
be
I
friendly.
thought wait, I thought AC Milan are in
It
the.
won't be.
I don't
If I
think
was a Man United
I
player,
don't
I would
I don't
love
think
to
AC
play
Milan
them.
in Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. But I don't think AC Milan are in the UCL. I think they're in the Europa. I think.
It's a shame. Oh well, they
Yeah.
might be stuck there if they got Ruben Amorim. I was just thinking, if I was Kerry Mainu, the perfect game is to play against AC Milan and just completely dominate their midfield. I'm hoping that would happen. But I think for Man United, though, the best thing for fans and maybe the best thing for the owners is if we do play against. Do you remember? It's going back a long time, but do you remember 1994 when Man United played against Barcelona, who had Romario, they had Haji, they had Stoichkov, they kicked our ass in the Bernabeu. And if,
Yeah.
as bad as it was watching us get battered 4-0, you kind of see where your club is and it shows what you need to work on. I think
Yeah.
Man United finishing third in the league tells us nothing, like
Yeah.
because we had one game a week. If we go to Barcelona or we go to Real Madrid or we go to Paris, if we play Paris Saint-Germain, that's a perfect game. If Paris Saint-Germain destroy us, because we used to beat Paris Saint-Germain a few years ago and it used to be quite an even match in a lot of games, we can kind of benchmark our team against the best in Europe and see where we need to work on our weaknesses. And I hope the owners know that Man United finishing third, but not being in a title race is still levels below where we need to be at the moment. I feel sorry for Milan fans if that's true. Set up for Amarin football. But I don't know. I heard actually that
He might do
There is a
well.
rumor.
He might actually do well. You never know.
I think it'd do
He,
okay. But the
yeah,
standards are lower.
I think defensively, I think he's a good fit, and I think the Italian league is a good fit for Amarin, really. So and I think Helgi would probably certainly agree on that too. Yeah, look, it is what it is. Be careful what you wish for. Is what I'd say to AC Milan.
Yeah, one thing about the World Cup as well, maybe it's going to be more difficult for Arsenal because they seem to be clamping down on some of the holding, some of the rubbish around set pieces. So it might be that Arsenal need to actually utilise some open play strategy. So Lucky Singh says he knows 300% MATHEUS, Fernandes or Alex Scott's coming, which makes an obvious question. If you're going to get one of them, who would you go for? Like, is Alex Scott still 55, 60, or in like taking a day off for YouTube, is the price gone up to 80 like every other player? I don't know.
And this is the thing: if Matheus Fernandes is going for that, then what does Alex Scott actually go for? Because Bournemouth will look at it and think, well, that's a relegated club, and they're getting this much for him. This is a guy that's doing it in the league, will be still doing it in the league, has been proficient all season. So I kind of think it's
100 mil. Yeah, they're gonna raise. They're gonna raise to 100 mil.
This is my fear that the longer we abstain from bringing in players, the more the prices increase. And if some of those players are in the World Cup, well, you're paying even more. That's the issue.
Yeah, the only thing about Alex Scott, though, is I think Alex Scott is refusing to sign a new contract. So MATHEUS Fernandes had only been there for a year, so Alex Scott's potentially got less on his contract. So it might be that the price is lower because of that, because they don't want to. I think most of the deals now come down to if the player's got any power at all. Once you get to the last year of your contract, it's pretty much get what you can, isn't it? But maybe that's going to make him cheaper as well. So I think at the moment, but I don't know. I don't mind Alex Scott. I've said this a few times. I think Alex Scott's a bit underrated, maybe a bit under the radar. I think he'd be a good player, but it has to be a sensible price. Like I wouldn't be paying 80 for Alex Scott either, but maybe a cheaper deal.
Yeah, he's got 2 years left on his contract. He's apparently only earning 40 grand a week. So, you would hope that Man United would be able to leverage that. And if they wanted to bring him in.
Happen. I think Jumbo with Semenyo signed a 5-year contract and then moved in January. I bet Alex Scott gets a nice pay rise that puts him in line with what he would get at maybe Man United, and then gets a release clause put in there to maybe get a guaranteed price. Unless I don't know exactly how much they want, but I'd imagine that they might want to put in like a 65 million release clause or something if they think they can't get that in the summer, and then maybe extend his contract by a few years, because that's what they did with Semenyo, wasn't it? They gave him a new 5-year contract, put the release clause in January, but we didn't know about it until I think it's October, November time.
They are saying that if he does agree to new terms, then Bournemouth are intending to put a release clause between 75 to 80 million.
It's like transfer 101, isn't it? It's like exactly the same strategy by every club. It's like Angela Stiller, they want to do the same thing, buy his contract out or buy his release clause out and then put a new one in. It's just annoying, isn't it? That's why I think Man United should be like paying attention to this channel, because we pretty much say a year
we do. Look out for 433, folks. That's the next thing that's going to be changing at this club. I'm sure.
Yeah, do you remember like 2 years ago? Actually, maybe about 2 years ago, about 2 months before we signed Agate, myself and Dylan were talking about it, and he was saying we need to get the replacement that PSG are lining up for Agate, and we should have got him, and we should have not got Agate for that sort of money.
And Andy says it in the chat that Hackney is already being touted as the backup, as the lining up for Forest to replace Anderson. So if Man United want to get a deal, he's worked with Carrick before. 30 million, bring him in. I mean, it's kind of like why aren't we doing these deals?
One thing I was going to say as well. Do you remember in January so when we're doing Red Devil United in January, I was saying just buy one of these players. You had Hayden Hackney, that's going to be 30 million. I said, look, even if Hayden Hackney never kicks a football for Man United, just buy him because he's probably going to cost 10 million pounds more in the summer anyway. And I said, like, go for like Sharon Neves or go for. There's about 4 or 5 players we could have got for like 30 to 35, 40 million pounds, and they're probably all going to cost about 50 million pounds more. If we had a brain, we'd have done it, wouldn't we? We'd do these deals. Even if you don't want to keep the players, we could have just flipped them for. You can see the way the transfer window is changing. It just feels like naive that Man United didn't recognise that, because we're not experts here, are we? But it's not rocket science we're talking about.
Championship player of the season, Hackney. It's kind of like, come on, we're not talking about someone who was good. We're talking about someone who was the best in the championship. There's your lever. Grab it, bring him in. And it's kind of like he's also worked with the manager, so there's an understanding there already. It's I get exhausted. I always kind of feel like I need to lie down when I look at the lack of Man United's dealings.
Yeah. Like about the Fernandes deal. All I heard was prepared to bid, like about to bid. Matthews Fernandes bid imminent. I'm like, it's just the same thing basically.
I blame Romano.
I've seen this about people like say bid soon, bid now, bid day or deal day, and I was just thinking this is a bit like it's like someone shouting me in my house and me just going, hang on a minute, coming downstairs, incoming, and literally happening, and it's just like nothing's happened at all, and it just feels crazy that
Wednesday's July the 1st. That may be an indicator, possibly, but they've got to first put in a first bid. West Ham's not going to accept it. If they were going for a player, any player, they would then have to come back with a second bid. And United, being misers that they are, they would have to come. Most clubs will get their second bid accepted. We'd have to come back with a third bid, and then we would need to do a medical. And side note, we're still waiting to do a medical in Edison. It's just kind of like it. And pre-season starts in 3 weeks.
It feels a bit like me when I was a child, going to like a sweet shop or something, or going to Woolworths and going, right, I want to buy this. And they go, it's going to cost this much. And you hand over like your notes and coins, go, oh, shit, it's going to cost more. And then you're emptying out the coppers. And it feels like Man United at West Ham at the moment, emptying out the loose change and just going, how much do you say it was again? And just gradually trying to negotiate over the pennies, because it feels like we don't know what we're doing.
And they do a bid a week. So that's 3 weeks. Then they've got to do the medical. Then they've got to time it, announce it. By time, we're looking at the end of July. We've missed pre-season by 2 weeks. This is what
I remember when we talked about Wharton, like Mickey on Red Devil United. We talked about Wharton at Blackburn, and we were talking about I think BOUADDI a couple of years ago. Who else were we talking about? Remember when we first talked about Turkey? And all these players, when you first mentioned them, they're quite cheap.
I remember.
Naipan was another. Paez is another. That's around. There are so many kind of young players that just year on year out are kind of going through the roof, and we're just not grabbing those deals.
The thing that's frustrating is like you see a player in the Championship, and if they're going to be one of the best, maybe if they're in the top sort of 2 or 3 players in the Championship in a midfield position, and you're going to get them for about £30 million, 1 year in the Premier League, and as long as they're not awful, they're going to be £50 million. It seems to be like it's happened year after year, and now 70 seems to be the new 50. And it feels like Man United, we need to look at the Championship now and go, Hayden Hackney, if he's £30 million, just buy him, because he's probably going to cost 50 million in a year's time if there's anything remotely good.
Watch Zangari become a beast in 2 seasons. And then going for 100 million plus, and it's just like, why are we not all over that? BOUADDI, why are we not all over that? And it's just kind of like you safeguard, you have good return potential, young enough to sell if it comes an issue. You keep their wages low, so if it doesn't work out, it's easy to sell. It has everything that you need from a perfect deal, and yet these are class players with huge ceilings. And it's just like we're not doing those deals. If you're not going to go for the Tchouaménis or the Tonalis or the Andersons, if you're not going to go for the elite players, at least go for elite potential.
Yeah, I agree with
We're gonna
that.
have to. So, if anyone got final thoughts, because we're gonna have to wrap up, get some water, go outside.
I'm gonna
It's
I
still
need to
quite
lie
warm.
down.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to a knockout football in the World Cup, and we're going to hopefully redirect to G-Wolf Stream, who's going to be doing a watch long for that match. But big up to you, Kenny, for joining in. And
Yeah,
again,
yeah,
we'll
yeah,
try and do more
yeah,
calling
absolutely.
shows.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
No, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Kenny, you're a star. And what's just remind us of your channel?
Uh, my YouTube channel is Kenny Fan TV, and I'll be doing a watch along for the South Africa game against Canada. So yeah, so please make sure to look out for that one. It's going to be a fantastic run of 32 match coming up. So yeah, and and I thank the Lord that I've never even done a single transfer stream on my channel, because it's going to be the same old carbon copy like what I've been saying from last season. Yeah,
It's fine. You
I,
can
I,
always just come on here and have a chat with us.
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
come over, Kenny, and join forces. No, because I was
Oh
saying
yeah.
I took a few days off because it was literally like a sauna in my house, and which is nice, but I don't want to sit here getting angry about football while it's quite warm. So I've been sat outside in getting a bit of fresh air and just drinking lots of fluids. And I just thought with this one that when I'm making the thumbnail, I kind of look for it and go, "Oh, not this guy again." And I kind of look for the news. You know, like you go into Google and go, right, Man United transfer news, and you look at it and go, my God, I think I've taken 3 days off, and it's literally the same as it was.
It
And then
hasn't moved.
I look at YouTube, and all I can see is like deal soon, deal close, deal imminent. Bit. I just think
Oh God.
I just like punch myself in the face and go, "Come on, Man United, like do something." But
Yeah.
that's why I thought I'll do a call-in show, and this is what I said at 1 p.m. today. I said I'll do a call-in show because instead of me getting angry and disappointed, other people can like carry the burden of fury between us all, and we can.
Yeah, definitely.
Because
Yeah,
one
yeah.
of the things
It is.
I've always said is, I never want my channel to be one where someone tunes in and I'm shouting and ranting. And I feel myself getting towards that level because I think, hang on a minute, I feel like I've said the same thing over and over again. And you know, when you sort of think that if Man United do a few deals that don't work out, you can kind of go, okay, maybe Man United are unlucky. But I'm starting to think that maybe the word incompetence is maybe a bit more appropriate.
Yeah. It feels like. Do you remember when the Glazers used to go on holiday, turn their phones off, and didn't do transfer dealings? It just kind of feels like, what are they doing? Where have they gone?
So it feels a bit like Ineos have got maybe let's be positive towards Ineos for like 30 seconds, but there is a reason for this. And then imagine if Man United are actually much more efficient, but it still goes through the Glazers, and they're still probably like going, why is no one answering the phone? Like we got Fernandez, he's at the table, he's ready to sign. We got BOUADDI on hold, he's interested, and the Glazers are just like, yeah, but we'll switch our phones off for a month. The World Cup's on, we'll watch that instead.
And this is the thing. It's Mendes again. Mendes, who apparently gave us Euro on the understanding that we bought Ugarte. Have we not learned? Have we not learned? It's kind of like, I wouldn't be dealing with this guy ever. And this is my, do we have the people at the setup that know to navigate that and find a new person to deal with and get other players? No, they sit with what they know.
I just say to Andy, Garnacho is the gift that keeps on giving now. I'm so glad we got some money for Garnacho. I don't know what's going to happen to him. But he's not a problem. He's not a problem. But I'm going to have to wrap up. Wizabella, always a pleasure to speak to you. Thank you for coming on. Kenny,
always.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much
as well. Please check out Kenny Fan TV as well. And when Man United starts and we get some other stuff going as well, I'm sure Kenny will be doing regular watch-alongs for the games and regular content as well. So check out him.
Yeah.
We're going to head off towards. I'm going to share a link towards G-Wolf's going to be getting ready to talk through South Africa versus Canada. To be honest, I don't know who to call in this game. It could be a tight one. I'm thinking home advantage maybe. I think Canada might edge that one, but who knows?
Versus Canada. I think it's going to be a tight match, actually. I would quite like South Africa to go through, just because I kind of think it's a bit thin on the ground. But I'm quite happy for Canada to go through. I'm neutral. I'm just going to enjoy the football. I just want a good game of football.
It's kind of low pressure, isn't it? I hope it's like lots of goals. So I hope the game starts with an attack and a goal, and the other team respond, and it's attacking football. The good thing about Canada is they do go forward with speed, but they can't really defend. So I think it could be quite a good. So Canada, I think Canada got the edge with a home crowd, maybe, but don't write off South Africa. I think there'll be a serious threat.
Just quickly before we shoot, what's your view, Kenny, on the match?
Yeah, I think. I think Canada. I think Canada will just kind of edge it, but like you never know. You never know with South Africa. I expected like South Korea to actually like convincingly beat South Africa, but yeah, miracle does happen a lot of times in football. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if South Africa do end up going through. To be honest, yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
All to play for.
Yeah, yeah,
So
absolutely.
guys,
All to play for.
Please check out the watch along with G Wolf and say hello and make G Wolf howl. He likes that. He likes doing that. And say South Africa. A big up to Randy from South Africa as well. So South Africa and win this one. So good luck, Randy. I think you've got a good chance. I don't think there's any Canadian fans in the chat. So come on, South Africa. But take it easy, guys. And we'll be back tomorrow with. I don't want to say the same old stuff, but hopefully some sort of new information.
It's like deja vu. It's like Groundhog Day.
I'll be back tomorrow with more Fernandes uncertainties.
Give us new news.
And yeah.
We'll put it into the universe.